Poindexter, you're getting all excited.
Here's the story of an ugly Sith Lord who was cloned in 91 and 92. Geeks and gamers like Jeremy just can't be bothered to read like me and you.
That's right, we are talking about Palpatine here in the Poindexter Lounge. Stay tuned. What's up, nerd family? Welcome once again to the Poindexter Lounge. My name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, along with the lovely
Tiftastic. I had a brain fart, I'm sorry. I was like, who the heck am I?
That's an existential question.
I'm Tiff Tarkin, Grand Tiftastic. Gran Torino. Tiferiano.
Tiferiano. Alright. And of course,
Isaac Juan Kenobi.
And today we are talking about the return of Emperor Palpatine and the fact that he has been revealed to have been a clone. But before we get into that, we just want to say welcome to all of you. If this is your first time to the Poindexter Lounge, just know this. The Poindexter Lounge is
A place for nerds.
Are you sure?
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it's a place for
I
nerds.
remember.
That means it's a place for you and me and my crew to get together and talk about all the things that we love. Things like TV shows, games, movies, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, superheroes, messing up your name, returning Sith Lords as clones, and so much more. And so if that sounds like something that you would like to be a part of and things that you like, we would love to have you be here in the Poindexter Lounge with us. And so all you got to do that is hit that subscribe button and that notifications bell, and that way you can know when we put out new videos, which is
All the time.
we want you to be a part of that. And we're almost on our way to 10,000 subscribers, and we would love to have you as like part of that first 10,000. So come on, let's do that. And so we appreciate each and every one who does that. Right now, we're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about this. Now, we've all seen The Rise of Skywalker, right? Mm-hmm. We've talked about Rise of Skywalker. Mm-hmm. We have
fought about Rise of Skywalker.
We've hurt over Rise of Skywalker. But now it's in the past. It's hard to believe that, like, literally Rise of Skywalker
we are
is
in
now.
the now.
You're looking at now, sir. Everything that happens now is happening now.
We're in the now. When is this? Right now. So it's hard to believe that the Rise of Skywalker is now 3 months in the past.
Yeah.
You know, that we have moved that far on from the last of the Skywalker saga. That being said, there are people who still just can't let stuff die, and they're still mad about stuff. And so this week, a little snippet of the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker was released to certain fans. Now, I will say this. I watched John Campia's reaction to this story.
It reads as follows. What could you give me? Kylo asked. Emperor Palpatine lived after a fashion, and Kylo could feel in his very bones that this clone body sheltered the Emperor's actual spirit. It was an imperfect vessel, though, unable to contain his immense power. It couldn't last much longer.
And there's a lot that I agree with John Campia about this story. Because, first of all, I will say, because it was revealed that Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker was a clone. That his essence, his spirit or whatever, was transferred into a clone body, and that's what that was. That
I'm a clone now.
Yes, that at the very beginning where Kylo walks in, that he could sense that this body was a clone, and it was like a spirit, you know, it was Palpatine's spirit in there. Let me just say this. I don't have any problem with the fact that he was a clone. No problem whatsoever. It's called Dark Empire. All of us who are old enough to remember Dark Empire when it came out, we all loved it. We didn't have a problem with it. We didn't go around whining about it for, 5 years because, oh my God, Emperor Palpatine came back and was a clone and Luke turned to the dark side and that totally defeated the whole purpose of Darth Vader just sacrificing himself. And my voices just went higher and higher and higher because our name's Jeremy and we love Geeks and Gamers.
Oh yeah, it's fine, it's fine. It's okay if you like this, if you believe this. This is not the video for you. Click off the video right now. Go find another channel. This is not the channel. Okay? You are going to have your feelings hurt if you are looking for someone to tell you that if you are buying this idea, it's okay. Because if you are buying this idea, you are stupid. You are as stupid as the people that are working at Lucasfilm are. There is no way in hell that Palpatine was actually a clone in The Rise of Skywalker. You have to be completely stupid to believe this. All you have to do is watch the movie. Look at the movie. Palpatine was hooked up to life support. He looked like Palpatine when he got his powers back. It's just the whole thing was just... Now, there's the EU element to this. Dark Empire. I'm not versed in the EU. 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 I'm sure, and again, I've been busy all day. I don't know what people are saying. Ryan Kennel has covered this on his channel.
Full freaking stop. Full stop right now. 5 years ago. Backtrack. Let's go back to 2014. A couple years after Disney bought Star Wars and so many hardcore fans were really excited to see some of these stories from the Star Wars expanded universe come to fruition. Come to see those characters, these stories that had more room to be told on the screen, whether it be an animated show, a film, what have you. So they got rid of the expanded universe, all this source material that they had at their disposal for creative freedoms. That's exactly what they told us 5 years ago. And since that moment, I've been pissed off at Star Wars that all these things behind me, all these books, over 100 novels, hundreds of young adult books, of comic books, all these things rich in source material that you had to pull from Lucasfilm, that you had Kathleen Kennedy, that you decided to get rid of. Since that moment, I've been pissed off at Star Wars that all these, and since that moment, I've been pissed off at Star Wars that all these.
I'm sure Ryan Kennel has covered this on his channel. They can have a much better perspective than me when it comes to the EU aspect. But this is a ripoff of Dark Empire, to my understanding. This is a ripoff of Dark Empire, to my understanding.
Hundreds of comic books, all these things rich in source material that you had to pull from Lucasfilm, that you had Kathleen Kennedy, that you decided to get rid of.
But this is a ripoff of Dark Empire, to my understanding. I'm not versed in the EU. I'm not versed in the EU. But this is a ripoff of Dark Empire, to my understanding.
Hundreds of comic books, all these things rich in source material that you...
Stupid. Go find another channel. This is not the channel.
No. Shut up. Stop making up crap about this stuff. It's just so... You would think that we'd be done with this stuff, but we're not. We still got to talk about stuff like this. So, like, if I offended you because I mentioned Jeremy or Geeks or Gamers and all that stuff, I will say this. Don't be offended, first of all. You have an opinion. I have an opinion. If you can't sit down and come to the conversation and actually talk about it, then I'm sorry. That's your problem. That's not my problem. I got a channel. I'm talking about what I like and what I don't like, and there's going to be times where you like stuff that I don't like, and there's going to be times where I like stuff that you don't like, and there's going to be times where we both like the same thing or both hate the same thing, and we can get together and complain about all that here on the channel. I don't care. My point is that when I saw The Rise of Skywalker, I assumed, am I the only one that assumed that he was a clone? I don't understand this. Like, everybody is now freaking out, and they're just like, oh! He was a clone? I didn't see that coming. Oh my gosh, he was a clone. They didn't tell us he was a clone. Look, I get it. And I agree with John Campea in the fact that, yes, the movie did not come out and tell us that. The movie is flawed. That's why I was very upset. Now, I'm going to throw you all a twist here, right? Because if you heard my speech then and you'd never been to the channel before, you think, oh, he's an apologizer. He just loves everything Star Wars. I was very upset with The Rise of Skywalker.
After the first viewing.
After my first viewing. My second
viewing...
viewing...
So much so that we couldn't even enjoy it because you were so angry.
Yeah, my second viewing, I enjoyed it more, and I got it a little bit more, but I still come out of it saying there's a lot of things that they didn't even touch on, one of them being Palpatine. I did not think that it was cool that, like, just... that the only way that they explained how Palpatine came back was just like, oh, the dead speak. He's back. There he is. We didn't foreshadow any of this, and now I think that the first part of Rise of Skywalker should have been leading up to the reveal of Emperor Palpatine, not just like roll the dice. Oh, it came up Palpatine.
Oh, bad the way.
Right? Like, no, that's stupid, and I agree with that's stupid, and I had a problem with that. But it does not surprise me that he was a clone. I assumed he was a clone because all of the other stuff that they talk about him wanting to possess Rey's body, about him wanting to pass all that stuff on, and them showing cloning cylinders of Snoke and stuff, like all of that is like straight out of the comic Dark Empire. That's all straight up out of that. So I assumed that that's what he did, because honestly, they never said that he just did they say that he just survived the fall? Now, the visual dictionary for Rise of Skywalker, and I watched this too, the visual apparently, so there's 3 different things. You got the movie version that just says, oh, he's here, and you just have to assume that he survived, right, somehow. Then you got the visual dictionary that said that the Sith Eternal, which are the guys who are all in the stands. What really surprised me about Rise of Skywalker was not Emperor Palpatine. It was that the Sith Eternal, those guys who were in the crowd and stuff and chanting and all that stuff, were real. I thought they were Sith spirits the entire time. Because, like, why wouldn't they come down and, like, help Palpatine if you really wanted to beat everybody? Like, you got, like, a couple thousand people up in the stands.
Just against Rey and Kylo.
Well, against Rey and Kylo. Somebody's going to overpower them at some point. Like, why didn't they join the fight?
Same reason in Rome. They just watch people obliterate each other.
I guess so, but that didn't make any sense to me either. But according to the visual dictionary, the Sith Eternal were the cultists of the Sith, the religion, that they went and got Palpatine. It didn't explain how they got him. It just said that they got him and they brought him back, and they brought him back using unnatural and occultic methods. Okay? Which now I guess could be explained as cloning, right? Mm-hmm. Because the whole, that the dark, because he even says the whole thing that the dark side is a path to things that are unnatural, whatever. But it doesn't all make sense, and I get it. And especially in a world where they've told us that since they rebooted everything, right, and took away Legends and which was the EU and everything, that everything that comes out is canon. Everything, comic books, video games. They kind of pulled back on the video games a little bit because there's like multiple ways a video game can go and end and stuff like that. So you can't really have it all every way. But all the novels, all the comic books, all the stories that come out, obviously all the movies, are all canon stuff. You can't have canon if you got 3 different versions of it. Right? That he just survived, or that they found him and brought him back to using these purposes, and now with the novelization coming out and saying that he was indeed a clone. To me, the clone thing works the best, and I'm fine with the clone thing, and it doesn't surprise me. Everybody walking around going, I watched a video that just, like, totally lambasted that and said, oh, it's, how could he be a clone? It doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does. The clone thing makes the most sense. It doesn't make any sense how Palpatine would have just survived the explosion of the Death Star. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense how they would just have gotten his body remnants from the blown up Death Star and brought him back to life because he somehow survived and they kept him alive. None of that makes sense. What makes sense? He was cloning himself.
Hey guys, Enosh here, and I just needed to chime in because while editing this video, I'm starting to get a little more ticked off because I've read even more now. Since making this video, I've read even more of the visual dictionary, studied a lot more myself, and I'm starting to get ticked off because there are people reporting things about the visual dictionary and about what's been said or whatever and how this all came to be that just aren't true. In the visual dictionary, and I posted the best picture I could of it, it says that the Sith loyalists, or the Sith Eternal, brought him back, pairing technology, cloning. Is it really that hard? Technology with the occult practices to bring forth an embodiment of the dark side and those things. It's exactly what Palpatine says. It's exactly what he says. That they use these things to do unnatural things. And here's the thing. It's been established that you can't just clone Force users. If they would have cloned Force users back in the day, they would have had a bunch of clone troopers running around they would have just used Palpatine for that and had a bunch of Palpatine clones running around during the Clone Wars to do everything that needed to be done. That's not the point. It is very hard to clone Force users. And that is why they had to use the dark side and use those occult practices mixed with technology. When people actually read stuff and actually learn stuff and actually know about, I don't know, things like the expanded universe and even the universe that exists.
I'm not versed in the EU. I'm sure I'm not versed in the EU. I'm sure I'm not versed in the EU.
Then if that's the case, don't make videos like you know what you're talking about and you come from a position of authority on the subject of Star Wars when you can't even be bothered to read things.
I'm not versed in the EU.
Oh, and you don't have time during your day.
I'm sure, and again, I've been busy all day. I don't know what people are saying.
Or apparently ever, to actually spend time, read this stuff, understand this stuff, and so all you want to do is sit around and complain about it after the fact when you don't understand it, you poor baby. To quote our dearly beloved, deceased now, Emperor, "It is you who are confused about a great deal, many things."
There is no way in hell that Palpatine was actually a clone in The Rise of Skywalker. You have to be completely stupid to believe this.
Good, good. Let the anger flow through you. The more you complain, the more you become my servant. Oh no, I think it is you who will find that you are quite fully, operationally stupid. If you don't get it. I now return you back to the video. I just had to say something.
Because just like in Dark Empire, if you have not read Dark Empire, for God's sakes, if you're a Star Wars fan, just go read Dark Empire. Dark Empire is great. A lot of people, I've seen all these videos popping up now, all of a sudden saying, oh, it's overrated, it's blah, blah, blah. You know what? Shut up. All of us back in the 90s who loved Star Wars, we were reading the Timothy Zahn novels. We were reading all this. I love that stuff. I got a whole shelf of books right over here just full of all the novels and everything.
That all these things behind me, all these books, over 100 novels, hundreds of young adult books.
And that was stuff that I loved. And those were my Star Wars stories. But now I have to classify them for what they are. But Dark Empire was a great story. And it dealt with a bunch of stuff that if it came out now, people would lose their mind because a lot of the stories has come forward. I mean, Luke is transporting himself. He's doing the whole teleport thing like he did in The Last Jedi in those stories. So people are ticked off about that. But people have not read that, so they don't understand where it came from.
I'm not versed in the EU.
But Luke actually goes over to the dark side because he needs to learn about the dark side in it. He becomes a returned Emperor Palpatine's apprentice, like taking his father's place. And so people would flip out about that, you know, it totally undid Darth Vader's, you know, sacrifice and all that stuff. People are too worried about Anakin Skywalker's legacy these days. I don't get that. Like, the guy did what he needed to do, you know, like he took care of business for when he needed to take care of business, but the entire universe does not just revolve around Anakin Skywalker or Luke Skywalker. I love Luke Skywalker, but let's get it together. So, I say all that because people are losing their minds now that it has been confirmed that Emperor Palpatine was indeed a clone and that's how he came back. Mm-hmm. So, my question to you guys is, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that storyline? And does it really matter? Does it really matter in the bigger scheme of things? Or can't we just read a book or read something and just go, oh, that's how it happened. Let's talk about that. That's my question to you guys. All right, so what do you think, Tiff?
I am obviously not as passionate about this as you are, but I assumed myself when they finally showed him, because of how it happened with him and Vader, it's like, you really can't come back from that, so it makes the most sense to follow the book, to be cloned. I assumed myself that he was a clone. So...
Yeah. He's hooked up to all those apparatuses and stuff?
He was still hooked up to that ginormous machine, you know...
Yeah.
So, to me, unless that was some ginormous, you know, type of life support machine that was keeping the little bits of him alive.
Well, it didn't look like he was even a fully formed clone because
No.
he was he had the milky white eyes. He didn't seem all altogether. He was younger than he was in
Missing
Return of the
fingers.
Jedi. Yeah, so like all of those are pretty. I mean, even though they didn't come out and say he's a clone, all those are pretty telltale
But
signs
if
that
you're
that wasn't the
sitting here
same
showing
body.
the tanks of Snoke being cloned, why wouldn't you clone yourself? So to me, I just seeing all that stuff, and knowing the stories from the books, I assumed he was a clone. So the fact that they are getting mad over it, I don't understand it. But
Yeah. What about you, Isaac?
Yeah.
Now, you weren't around in 1993 or whatever, or 1992 when it came out or whatever. So, what do you think?
I kind of like that we got confirmation that like it's a clone, so it kind of like ends the argument of is he a clone or not. We definitely just ended that argument. But kind of like what you said is like, I felt like we didn't get like enough information on Palpatine in the movie, and that was kind of like one of the problems I had with it. It was like, okay, cool, we got Palpatine back. We got to see him fight one more time to end off the story. But I don't think it would have hurt him to take 5 or 10 more minutes to explain why he's there, how he got there.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you didn't watch the Fortnite event, like a few before, you
That's weird.
You wouldn't have understood at the crawl at the beginning of, the cry from the Emperor is...
Yeah, we didn't even
out or
hear
something.
that.
Yeah.
Like, that was in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody in the... I should take that back. Yeah, everybody in the world was in Fortnite at the time. But
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying. Like, not everybody plays Fortnite to be able to hear the Emperor in a video game that's not even a Star Wars game.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have really gotten that first line of the crawl if you didn't watch that, and then it's kind of like, okay, Emperor's back. Okay, now he wants Kylo to do this, and then come back and fight Rey. It's like that's pretty much all we got from the Emperor.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't get really much information about him during the movie.
It's kind of classic J.J. Abrams, where it's like Lost, where it's just like, here's a bunch of setup, here's a bunch of stuff that happens that could be cool if it's connected to something, but you never get the connection.
yeah,
Like, that was my problem with Lost. I loved Lost, but the Lost kept throwing, like, these weird, crazy things at us, and you're like, well, I want to know about that. What is that? Like, what is the giant foot? What is the giant statue that was there in Lost, right? And then they find the Black Rock and stuff. And it's been a while since I watched Lost, so if you're, like, way up on your
Probably why
Lost...
it's called Lost.
Right? If you're way up on your Lost stuff and I'm forgetting stuff, don't judge me. But here's the thing. There was a lot of stuff like that it was like they had one episode where like you saw the foot, right? The giant stone foot. And you're like, what was that? And then they had one episode where they showed this giant like Egyptian style, like huge mammoth statue
or a polar bear on an island.
that gets taken out by a wave. And you're like, okay, well, what was the civilization that was there? And then there's time travel. And then there's like they go back to, and there's like, you never got...
the bunker.
You never seem to get any real answers. And then even the end, the last show was like,
Makes
what-
you say angry words.
what am I watching? Like, why did I spend all these years watching this thing? But
Still wasn't Birdman.
I mean, like, I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. I'm curious what you guys thought of not just Rise of Skywalker, because I think that at this point the sequels have divided a lot of people. But I think that for a lot of us, a lot of us are moving on. You know, we're ready to see what's next with Star Wars. We're ready. It's done. It's like we can all breathe now. But I think there's still some channels out there that are trying to hold on to it because they're so self-important. There's so much wanting. You know, they don't want that to die. They don't want that anger. They don't want the anger to die. Right? They want that the hatred to flow still, so that they can have more subscribers and cash flow coming in.
Okay? You are going to have your feelings hurt if you are looking for someone to tell you that if you are buying this idea, it's okay. Because if you are buying this idea, you are stupid. You are as stupid as the people that are working at Lucasfilm are.
From all that ad revenue. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. It's like they're like trying to literally hold on to anything. So news like this comes out and it's immediately blown out of proportion. And I agree that it should have been explained. But I think it's blowing it out of proportion to act like it's a total out of left field thing.
They didn't need to dumb it down that much to make you realize it was a clone.
Yeah, they needed to explain a whole lot more in The Rise of Skywalker instead of probably some of the scenes that we got. But there's some things that it's like, I don't think that the idea of Palpatine I think it's more crazy that Rey is a Palpatine than it is that Palpatine was a clone. Like that's where I'm at with it, right? You know, like I think it's weirder that Finn supposedly wanted to tell her that he was Force sensitive the way that he did it, like instead of just telling her, "Hey, I'm Force sensitive," because the way that they played it out was definitely made to sound like it was a romantic thing.
I love you.
You know, like they really they twisted a lot of stuff that may have been that he just wanted to tell her he was Force sensitive, but the way that they told the story was, you could tell that they intentionally, they're trying to throw little curveballs at you, because that's what J.J. Abrams does. And so who knows what could have been if Kevin Trevorrow, I mean, we saw the script that Kevin Trevorrow had for Duel of the Fates. It wasn't that Duel of the Fates would have been like so much better, but it would have been different. And who knows if people would have enjoyed that more, or if people would have totally trashed that as well, because you just can't seem to please everybody nowadays. But hey, I'm curious, and we're curious what you guys think of this story, of what you guys think of Emperor Palpatine coming back. Were you surprised that he came back in general? Did you kind of expect something like that, or the way that he came back? Did you think that he was a clone? Did you think that was him and he just survived? What were your thoughts behind all of that? Let us know down in the comment section. What do you think of this reveal now that he is definitely a clone? That is definitely, I'm interested now to pick up.
Did you say definitely?
Definitely. I want to pick up now the. I want to pick up the novelization when it comes out now, because now I want to read this stuff. Because if that's just in the first few pages, what else are we looking at that could possibly been described in the book that we maybe didn't know before? I'm definitely interested in that. Definitely. But what are you definitely interested in? Let us know down in the comment section. Also, follow us on social media, where we can have real conversations on a daily basis even about all this stuff. There's so many great friends that we've made through social media, and that's what it's there for. So you can find all the links to our social media down in the description below. Also, if you're in a position where you can and you like what we do, please consider becoming a Patreon subscriber, or Patreon supporter, I should say. We would love to have you on board. Here are some of our subscribers right here, who have made that plunge and jumped in and said, yeah, we're with you guys, and our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. You guys are awesome. Well, also don't forget, we do have merch, right? We got Rise of Skywalker merch that's going to be going. It's our logo, but in the Rise of Skywalker vein, and we're going to be putting that out here pretty soon for the Blu-ray release.
Hey guys, if you made it this far in the video, you are awesome. Thank you guys so much for your support. Please smash that like button and of course subscribe, and also hit that notifications bell so that you are aware when we put out new videos, which is like all the time. Thanks for being a part of the Poindexter Lounge, and we'll see you next time.